Hi everybody, I'm David Kidwell, conductor of the Holyoke Civic Symphony. 12 albums for a penny. Remember that promotion? It was in Sunday newspapers in like the 70s and 80s. And I did that. I got my 12 albums for a penny in 1984. And I thought it might be fun to try to remember what my 12 albums were and see what 16-year-old me was listening to. So here we go. Piano is my first instrument. And when I was 16, I still wanted to be a concert pianist when I grew up. And so I got an album of Rhapsody in Blue, which was one of my favorite compositions. I've played it many times, and I've actually played it and conducted it with the Holyoke Civic Symphony. And so I got this version of Leonard Bernstein, both conducting and playing. I also got an album of the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto. I've never studied the piece as a pianist. I've never played it, but I have conducted it 3 times with the Holyoke Civic Symphony, and it's one of my favorite pieces. Mozart was very big in 1984. Sounds kind of silly to say because Mozart is always very popular, but the movie Amadeus came out in 1984, and so I wanted to have some Mozart represented among my 12 albums. And I got this kind of weird little off-brand album of Mozart's Jupiter Symphony, which I've never conducted, but I would love to, and also his overtures to The Marriage of Figaro, Don Giovanni, and Magic Flute, which I have conducted, and I love all of those overtures. There was a young trumpet player who came out in the early 1980s and made a name for himself. His name was Wynton Marsalis. And I also played trumpet. I was first trumpet in the high school band. And so when this album came out, I knew I had to have it. It includes the trumpet concertos of Haydn and Hummel. And I've conducted both of those, never played them, but have conducted both of them with Sheldon Ross. And actually for the orchestra's upcoming virtual concert on March 7th, I'll be playing for Sheldon. He's going to do the first movement of the Hummel Concerto. Wynton Marsalis eventually went on to win the Pulitzer Prize in music composition. He is the director of the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra. He's basically the Duke Ellington of our time, just an amazing musician. Toot Sweet. I mean, I love the title of this, but I also really enjoy Claude Bolling's music. Bolling just passed away fairly recently, but he wrote a lot of music that was sort of jazz classical fusion. And this was a suite for flute and piano that was a lot of fun to listen to. Songs from Liquid Days. I didn't really know any Philip Glass before I got this album, and I really fell in love with his music. This album is basically a big song cycle, an album-length song cycle. And I distinctly remember that one of the songs was about the hum of a refrigerator. And that just kind of blew my mind that, oh, you can write an art song about a refrigerator. That's kind of neat. Now, I love Christmas music. And if you told me that I could only have one Christmas album to listen to for the rest of my life, it would be A Christmas Portrait by the Carpenters. I just love every track on this album. This was the album that really got me interested in arranging and orchestrating. There's an overture at the beginning it's just so beautifully constructed and beautifully orchestrated. I could just listen to that, every day for the rest of my life, probably. And of course, the album cover is just this wonderful homage to the Norman Rockwell self-portrait in the Saturday Evening Post. So I love 80s music, but when I was 16, I didn't really start listening to it until I got to college. So I only have 2 albums among my 12 that are 80s pop. One is this Lionel Richie album, I've loved Lionel Richie since he was with the Commodores, and I also got this Air Supply album. I know they're kind of schmaltzy, but I don't care. I like their music. Mary and I went to an Air Supply concert just a couple of years ago in Springfield, and had a great time. And their lead singer, he's like 70 years old now, and he still has all those amazing high C's. It was fantastic. So I have two musicals among my 12. I have the original Broadway cast recording of Cats, which I love that show. I haven't seen the current movie version of it and don't intend to. And I also have Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is Andrew Lloyd Webber's first musical. When I was in high school in 1984, there was a local dinner theater had a production of Joseph that was just so wonderful and so popular that it ran for more than 2 years, which is just unheard of in dinner theater. And I saw it 14 times over those 2 years. And I got this album and listened to it over and over, and eventually picked out all the songs and learned to play all the songs by ear. And then finally, I have one spoken word album. This is A Place for My Stuff by George Carlin. Carlin was a wonderful comedian, but also just a very sharp social critic. He was a linguist. I just loved the way his mind worked. So those are my 12 albums that I got for a penny back in 1984. Hope you've enjoyed the list. If you did this promotion back then, and if you can remember any of the albums that you got, please put them in the comments. Thanks.